Hello and welcome to
Mm,
Drive-In. Brian's enjoying chips over there right now. They're tasty. What kind of chips are they, by the way?
oh, they're
Pringles?
just cheddar cheese Pringles.
Those are good. Pizza's the best Pringle, though.
Okay, now barbecue is.
Barbecue is good. I mean, there is no bad Pringle, except for maybe the weirdo flavors that come out every once in a while.
I don't think I've had a bad one yet.
Yeah, original is like nothing special, but it's not bad.
I'm trying all the weird flavors right now,
Oh,
and I
really?
do have. I got the masala chips.
That actually sounds pretty good.
It's it has a very like it tastes like hard boiled eggs. That's what it
Oh,
reminds me of, and it's
okay.
like I'm
That
not.
sounds like
I
a
was like,
bad Pringle.
well, no, those are like it's just Lay's, but yeah,
Oh, so you're going through like all the weird chips.
yeah.
Mm. Okay. I guess let's get into the episode.
Welcome to Chipcast.
Yeah, the chip cast. Oh, hey, we forgot to mention ourselves at the top of the podcast. Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into today's episode, I want to talk to you about our Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/drive and double feature podcast, you get free bonus. Or God, why do I keep saying free? I said this last week and I kept it in the podcast too. You'll get to hear that. But no, it's not free, people. It is $5 a month. You help support the channel and you get free bonus content, but no main show content is locked behind it. But getting into today's episode, we are talking about An American Werewolf in London, directed by the great John Landis. And this movie was made in 1981. It is a comedy horror movie. I've never seen it. That's why I picked it, Ryan. So I don't know. I use this podcast as a springboard to watch movies that I've missed for so long. So yeah, and it's a horror classic. It's a werewolf movie. We haven't done one of these yet. I'm gonna guess you've seen it before.
I have, yes.
Okay, yeah. It's a very popular movie.
Yeah, everyone's talked about it for a long time. I mean, I actually remember, I, I had never heard of this one, but I remember seeing the poster for the sequel to this
Wow.
movie, American Werewolf in Paris,
Yeah.
at the movie theater. I remember because it was like had like werewolf eyes with a little French table. Like it was a big cardboard stand up too.
Really?
Like
This sounds like a
like
cool poster.
it had like a little French cafe deal with, but it had like werewolf eyes in the shadows.
Oh my God. See, I've never seen that one either, and I've only heard bad things about that one.
I'm curious about it, but I haven't heard one good thing about it.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll save that for another time. Maybe it's sequel week or something. Because hey, An American Werewolf in London. We're not in Paris, people. We're in. They speak English here. Luckily, good, good, good. I mean, I don't understand their accents. I
I
can't. I
still
don't get
needed
it.
subtitles.
Yeah, I mean, I think I watched it with subtitles. But yeah, I guess part of the build up for this movie. This movie is directed by John Landis, who is
What's
pretty
his son
much.
doing?
I don't know what is Max. It's Max, right?
Yeah,
Well, what is John up to?
keeping his son in line, keeping his son out of trouble.
I guess, yeah. I guess that's what a full-time job probably. But no, John Landis is really known for making comedies before this. He made the Kentucky Fried Movie, Animal House, Blues Brothers. And this one is still considered a comedy, but is definitely a big horror movie. And I want to say, like, other than the Twilight Zone movie, he never really came back to horror. So this is definitely kind of an odd like space in his career. Luckily, after the Twilight Zone movie, nothing really
Well,
happened. So
he was great in the movie Wired.
that's right. Yeah. I watched the movie Saturday night, and I John Belushi, someone plays John Belushi in that movie, and all I could think of was the movie Wired the whole time. It's ruined everything. It's Michael Chiklis playing John Belushi, right?
Yeah, it's so sympathetic.
Yeah. Oh my God. Which I mean, like Saturday Night doesn't play him too nicely either. Like he's pretty pretty mean in that movie too. So you know what? Maybe he deserved it.
Ugh.
I'm just kidding. No,
Uh,
no,
uh,
nobody,
okay.
nobody
All right,
needs
Nathan.
no one needs a movie like Wired made about them. Like a complete, just like
A
has John
hit
Belushi
piece.
even had like a happy movie made about him?
I don't think so.
Oh man, that's sad. But An American Werewolf in London doesn't have anybody from SNL in it. It's David Naughton and Griffin Dunn are the main two. David Naughton, who has appeared on the show before for Hot Dog,
Hot hot dog, yeah.
yeah, which is crazy. And then Griffin Dunn, who I would say is I know him from After Hours, and he just kind of appears in movies every little bit. David Naughton, I don't. What is he in? This is like his movie. This is like the movie of
Yeah,
his
this
career.
well, yeah, this hot dog was after this movie.
Wow, post success, post An American Werewolf in London. Um,
Didn't we do a movie with Griffin Dunn recently?
did we? No, yeah, I don't see anything that we've covered. But you know, they're. Oh wait, hold on. He's in The Fan.
Ah,
But like he plays. What? Wait, hold on. Yeah, he plays a production assistant in The Fan, which doesn't sound like a big role.
yeah. Well, there's no small roles in my opinion.
You know what? Someone should make that a catchphrase. Um, but I was actually really surprised by this one. I was a little sad that I hadn't seen it, especially because like from the beginning, this movie has a really cool mood to it. I think it's a really solid horror movie because it's just two backpackers in London. And God, it's crazy to watch a movie like this and just how fast paced it is. Like the pacing in this movie, it really doesn't slow down ever. It's like a solid hour 30 and it's always moving. And just right off the bat, we have these two backpackers and they're in the UK and they're just walking around in the hills and they show up to a pub and there's Satan symbols everywhere. A pentagram is on the wall and everybody's acting a little weird. Everyone's scared there. And of course, these are a couple goofballs, and they're American, so everybody's making fun of them. Because I think Griffin Dunn brings up a John Wayne movie. Of course, he brings up the Alamo.
Oh yeah. Or no, it was the waitress that brought it up. Like it was like the barmaid.
That's right.
And
Because yeah,
right, she's like they said something about like, oh, I remember the Alamo. It's like, yeah, it's the movie with John Wayne. And they're like,
like,
and he was like, oh, good movie. And the other guy's like, no, I thought it sucked or whatever.
yeah, exactly. And it just like becomes so awkward because they are asking about the pentagram on the wall. And of course it everybody goes silent when they ask it. And I think it's so funny. The thing that gets them kicked out of the inn is because one guy misses a dart shot. He's like, I've never missed that board once in my life. And that's the time they go, we need to get out of here. We gotta go. Um,
There's a lot of darts in this movie.
is there? Oh yeah, I guess I didn't notice.
That there's
John,
that scene that he watches a scene later and like later like where a guy's like playing darts on TV,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
like professional darts.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Landis is a big dart head.
I mean, who isn't?
That's true. Yeah, I follow all my favorite darts players.
Yeah, my
Kiryu,
favorite's uh Bullseye McGraw.
Bullseye McGraw. Oh yeah, that's a good one. If I ever become a professional, I'm gonna take that. Um, but they eventually leave, and there is a werewolf out in the fields because they tell them don't go off the path, and of course they go off the path. And I really like the way this scene is filmed because it's just really foggy, and so both of them running back and forth, and they can tell the werewolf is circling them, and they're like they don't know quite where they need to go. So it's just like a lot of back and forth, and it's actually really moody. I actually thought it was pretty tense. I thought this movie was going to lean more towards the comedy side than horror, knowing Landis, but I was surprised that it actually is pretty violent, nasty horror movie.
Oh yeah, it's super bloody in this
Yeah.
one, and a lot of the death scenes that we see in here are very gruesome. I do really like the mood setting at the very beginning of the movie, and
Mhm.
because like you said, it doesn't waste a whole lot of time. Like it's just like they're backpackers. Like
Yeah,
that's all
that's
you
all
need
you
to
need to
know.
know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like he brings up a girl he likes, which just kind of becomes a running joke, but that's about it.
yeah, and when they do have the big attack at the end, like when they do eventually get attacked by the werewolf, um, like they just Griffin Dunn just gets like ripped to shreds.
Yeah, face is ripped up, just blood everywhere. And David Naughton, he just runs away. He does turn around, but like he pretty much just darts it instantly, and regrets
Darts
it
it.
later. Yeah, he dart. Wow, it's all there. I got darts on my head. Um, but like then of
You can
course
pull
he
him
get
out.
yeah, well he gets attacked by the werewolves, and then with a bullseye they hit the werewolf and kill him. The people from the pub, I guess they feel bad and they come out and shoot them. Um, and that leaves him injured, and Griffin Dunn is dead, so he ends up going to the hospital, which kind of begins the rest of the movie because now he's a werewolf.
Werewolf.
Werewolf, sorry, whoops. But yeah, and
No,
then go ahead.
no, yeah, that's just like kind of where it picks up like the second part of the movie, like where it's like the main part where uh he ends up falling in love with like the nurse that's taking care of him.
Yes.
And he immediately starts seeing visions of Griffin Dunn's character because he's already just like, so yeah, I'm dead. This is just, and you see him and he's just really just like super bloody, like got
Yeah.
blood pouring like out of his face, and he got all these like fresh wounds,
Hmm.
and just
And
like
I think that's like one of the best parts of the movie is Griffin Dunn playing this dead guy. He's like he's really funny the way he plays it. It's really silly because he's forced to walk the earth in limbo until David Naughton's dead. And he's just like, yeah, I'm dead. And then, like, of course, he keeps asking, I need to get his name. Oh, his name's David in the movie, too. That's funny. David keeps asking, like, is this a dream? And he just completely skips over that. And of course, it's not a dream. It's all very real because David has nightmares for the rest of the movie. And some of these are just absolutely insane. Like the one where he returns home and his whole family is watching TV, and then like
yeah.
Nazi werewolves come up and storm the house.
I when I saw that, I was genuinely thinking, I'm like, I wonder if Rob Zombie like stole this scene for Grindhouse, like where he made like the werewolf
Oh
women of the
yeah.
SS or whatever.
I could see that. That would make sense. It just seems like I mean, knowing Rob Zombie, yeah, he probably stole it. It's like I kind of like the idea of that. But no, that one's like really gruesome because like they come in and slit everybody's throats. It's kind of insane. There's other ones where it's just visions of him running through the forest, eating lamb and all that. And then the nurse there, she starts to fall for him, but the whole time she's like, "Ah, I just feel kind of bad for you." That's like her most common line is like, you're handsome, but also I just feel bad. You make me really sad. It's like, okay.
she, she is all over him, even though like she barely knows this guy.
Yeah, it's that American charm, you know. Americans in the I've heard when Americans go to London, they really love Americans over there.
Oh yeah, everyone in Europe loves Americans.
Yes, yeah, totally, totally.
Well, maybe back then they did. I don't know, but
Maybe it was a little different. Because like I guess it's funny because the first scene with the doctor, the nurse checks him and is like, "Oh, he's definitely Jewish." And they're
oh
like,
yeah,
"Yeah." They're like,
they're
"That's
like,
common practice now."
yeah, they're like, oh, you devil, like like the nurse, like they're just like, oh, naughty, naughty, like you're not supposed
Yeah,
to be doing that.
1981, I guess a very
But
different time.
but yeah, he doesn't like when he gets out, he doesn't have anywhere to go. So the nurse is like, just come stay at my place.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, yeah, stay at my place. And then she gives the house tour and he's like, there's only one bed. Oh, and that leads to a shower sex scene. Shower and an actual sex scene. Which is
which
like,
turns her into a werewolf.
yeah, that would be funny. I'd do that. I would watch that. But I do think like I know it's a sex scene. I feel like every movie has them, especially from this era. This takes a little bit away from it because it's so long. Like the shower scene where she's like kissing on his shoulder. I'm like, I don't think
I
I understand that they're sleeping with each other.
Yeah, I didn't need the gratuitous sex scene. I mean, like, if you want to put in like an implied sex scene where it's just like, oh, like she's in the shower and he joins them or whatever, and
Hmm.
like it's like, okay, I can put the pieces together. What happens next? It's like,
Exactly.
but it's just, I don't know, like it for a horror movie like that, like it reminded me of uh, what that one Eric's Revenge or whatever, the Phantom of the Mall or whatever, the one we
Oh,
watched,
yes, yeah.
where it was like it was supposed to be like this horror movie, but then there's like this like extremely long graphic sex scene like in the movie. Just like, why?
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely someone like just like wanting to do that because that's like a joke in Always Sunny about them trying to get a movie made and all Danny DeVito wants. He's like, I'll fund it, but only if I do full penetrative sex on camera. And it's like it's like someone in the background is like, I have to see this. I there needs to be a sex scene here. Um
So it's like Roger Corman taught me well.
Yeah, exactly. I learned from the school of Roger Corman, which I think I want to say John Landis either worked for him at one point or was a big fan of his because I think I've heard him talk about Roger Corman before
Probably.
because he likes this kind of stuff. Um,
But the real though, the real star of this movie is the
mhm.
special effects.
Yes, yeah, Academy Award winning special effects here, best makeup. Um,
Well, wasn't
Rick
this
Baker. Rick.
I was like, this movie was the first to ever win Best Makeup, correct?
Oh, that is a good one. I want to say, yeah, winning the an inaugural award for best
But,
makeup. Wow, it's almost like it was made for this movie.
well, cause I forget what it was. I think it was like, I want to say it was like Alien, maybe, or like one of the other movies
Hmm.
where it was just like people were just like, why don't we have an award for this? Like people
Yeah.
put do so much like that do so much crazy special effects, but like none of this is recognized at all. And I pretty much they gave this movie like for Rick Baker because Rick Baker is just a big time legend when it comes to makeup.
Yeah, and let me get this in really quickly. Do you know what it was up against? Because it was only two movies were nominated for best makeup that year, and
I feel like
the other one is a drive-in double feature staple.
isn't one of them Xanadu?
Not Xanadu, no. You might not remember. This one probably won't pop to the front of your head. Heart Beeps.
Oh my
Oscar
god.
nominated Heart Beeps. Heart Beeps versus versus An American Werewolf in London. Did they just like pick from like a
That
list of movies and they were just like, okay, we're just gonna put that in there?
I wouldn't even I wouldn't have even nominated that movie.
No, like I mean, it's got makeup. I wouldn't say it was any good. Oh man, I
No,
did we bring that up? That we must have that was like when we talked about that.
I
But
don't know, but
but
that's ridiculous.
but like you said, the makeup is the star, and I think the scene that I've seen a million times, and it's just like a good example of amazing makeup work, is the werewolf transformation scene, where like there's just that one part that I think everybody points to, and watching it is like, wow, that's crazy. Is when his face turns into a werewolf, and somehow they make his snout grow out, so like his face is like he has a nose like a werewolf, and kind of the mouth of it, but then it like uses like almost like a machine, I'm guessing, to push all of that out so it looks like his body is stretching. It's insane.
Yeah, no, a lot of that stuff is really crazy. Like, it shows like his hands like
Hmm.
elongating,
Hmm.
and it shows like his feet getting really long, and growing hair like coming like out of his skin. It's really in-depth transformation. Like, it just shows like everything of what's happening to him, like his ears getting bigger.
Hmm.
It's I mean, I'm sure it's just like, how do they even do that sort of thing? Like, even like
Yeah.
now, it looks really impressive.
Oh yeah, it's very impressive. I mean, nowadays, if we did a werewolf movie, I haven't seen a werewolf movie in forever. I'm thinking of like the Benicio del Toro one. Sure, it was all CG or whatever. And like this is just like still just very impressive, cool work to see this transformation as he's screaming in pain for what feels like forever. And like the sex scene is one thing. I want long transformation scenes. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm here for. That's the horror of it.
Yeah, no, this is definitely like the most famous scene from this movie, and there's a reason why.
Exactly. But yeah, and then that sets forward the rest of the movie because he goes on a killing spree because the whole time he's planning on killing himself. Like that's a Griffin Dunn the whole time is like, you need to kill yourself, David. Just do it for the sake of not turning anyone else into like or putting anyone else in limbo.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, Griffin Dunn's character keeps showing up, and he's just getting progressively like looks worse and worse.
Yeah, exactly. He becomes like in like the second scene, he's like completely green, and then by the end of the
But
movie, he's just like rotted completely.
yeah, exactly. He's like getting like so like decomposed, and then he's like practically like a skeleton with skin hanging off of him.
Yeah, yeah. Which I once again the special effects here are good. But yeah, he does turn a bunch more people into werewolves, and so that puts even more pressure on himself to try to kill himself, but he can't stand to do it. And there's a really long scene towards the end of the movie where he he shows up at a porn movie theater, and there's a whole dialogue scene with him, Griffin Dunn, and all the people he's killed, and there's a porno playing in the background.
That porno is so funny.
It is. It's great. It's
It's
great.
I
Like there's
I didn't realize like what the dialogue was at the time, I guess, when I watched it, but like now it's like it's like two people like kissing and this girl's topless, and this like big guy runs in, and he says, "Hey, I thought I told you not to do that ever again." And he's like, "What? I don't know you," or something like that. He's like, "Not you, her." She's like, "I've never seen you in my life." He's like, "Oh, sorry."
yeah. Oh, sorry. And then he walks out and closes the door behind him.
And then there's a scene too where she's like on the phone. It's like, "Oh no, he doesn't live here anymore." Okay, thank you, bye. It's just like
Just so
topless.
mundane.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I thought the actual porno going on was really funny, but the stuff that's going on there is funny too because they're all pissed at him, and Griffin Dunn is like kind of the mediator, and he's like, no, "This is my friend. Let's play this calm. I'm gonna talk to him." But they all are giving him ideas on how to kill himself, and they're like, "Oh, you could use a piece of rope. Oh, you could do this. You could jump in front of the
Okay.
subway."
Well, yeah, like two of them, like a lot of them are pissed, but like two of them are just, like it's like a couple. They're like super chipper. Like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
have you tried killing yourself? Like, have you tried like a gun? Oh, a car would work. Yeah, or electrocution. Like,
Yeah. Which I
and
think is like a good bit of dark humor.
yeah, but thinking like underneath the surface, I'm just like, how dark is it? It's just like all these people are just like doomed to walk,
Yeah, right.
doomed to be like in purgatory. Like they're just like undead like the whole time. They can never pass on.
Yeah, well, it makes you think like because he, there was a werewolf before him, how many people are walking in limbo because of that guy?
Oh, I know,
But they
but
don't play
yeah,
it like that.
no, there's no way. Well, I mean, there is some weight to it because one guy's like, you made my wife a widow. You my
Hmm.
gave took my children's father away.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting way to play the plot. Is like I don't know, very dark to ask someone to kill themselves. And
Yeah,
obviously he can't do it. There's a while they're watching the porno, he transforms into a werewolf, and he's like holding the chair in front of him, rocking back and forth, like screaming. And of course, the usher is just like staring at him, and the werewolf is like, or David's like, "No, go away, leave me alone."
Well, yeah, and before that though, like he's like in Piccadilly Square, like,
Uh-huh.
and he's like telling the cop to like arrest him. It's like, I murdered a bunch of people. Like, I need you to
Oh, that scene's
arrest me.
great. Yeah.
And then the cop is like, "Oh, what's all this then?" And he's basically just like, get away, buddy. And he's just like, "I just admitted to killing some people. You need to arrest me." And
Yeah, and I think he
it's
starts
like,
trying to
I
piss everyone off. So he says like
wait,
the queen's gay or a man. The
yeah,
queen's a
uh,
man.
the Queen's a man, and Prince Charles is a
Yeah.
F slur. And then, and but yeah, the cop is like, how do I know this ain't a prank? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just get away. It's no, that was one of the funnier scenes in the movie. We forgot to bring up that there's a doctor that kind of looks over all of this, and he kind of has like a background mystery. I kind of forgot about that because it almost feels a little inconsequential because he goes around asking like, "Oh, what's up with the werewolf thing?" He even shows up to the pub to try to get answers.
it doesn't really play a factor into anything. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
like you think he's going to be like a Van Helsing type or
Yeah.
whatever, but he doesn't really play a part in the end of the movie, really. It's like,
No. It's
'cause-
more to explain everything to the audience, I guess.
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
just that part didn't really fit in right with me, but because he was trying to look for David and try to find out what happened, because they were trying to cover up in that little village at that pub. They're like, they didn't mention anything about a werewolf. They're like, "Oh, these two backpackers, this psycho killer, like just like escaped from the mental institution and killed them or whatever."
Yeah, exactly. And of course David's like, "No, a werewolf killed or got me." Um, but I really like the ending scene in the after the movie theater where he's in the middle of London and he's like, people are just dying left and right. Like I think what is the sequence of events where he blocks a bus, somebody falls out the top window of the double-decker bus and then gets completely run over. It is just absolute like chaos in the streets
Uh,
because there's a werewolf running around.
yeah, or like somebody flies through their windshield,
Mhm.
and somebody gets ran over, but then like somebody also gets decapitated.
Yeah. It's just like
It's
absolute insanity.
yeah, it's very crazy.
This is another movie that we're going to talk about that just ends very suddenly. Like there is no wrap up. So the werewolf ends up getting cornered, and the nurse shows up and tries to be like, "Hey, David, like I can't believe you did this." Like just trying to talk to him, and the cops just show up and just shoot him, and he's dead. And the nurse watches, and the end. That's the that's the end of our
Yeah,
movie. Like the plot solved. Why? What else do we have to say?
like yeah, that's like you didn't really need it. I mean, I guess I really don't know like what the epilogue would be if
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
one.
it's true.
And so I mean, it'd be like who you gonna follow, the nurse afterwards
Yeah,
or
it's like,
whatever.
oh, how would the nurse deal with it afterwards? I guess it's more like nowadays, I feel like with modern movies, there would be a stinger. Like there would be like, oh, this guy got attacked and he lived or
Oh
something like
yeah, like a
that.
new werewolf showed up.
Yeah, that's horror movie making today. But yeah, I mean, this one just ends. And I didn't hate it. Actually, overall, I think this movie's great. I think it holds up to what people say about this one as like being like a horror classic. Totally agree. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a really great movie. It's pretty obvious why it's a classic and probably one of the best werewolf movies out there.
Hmm.
Um, you know, so I definitely give it a recommend. It's definitely one that you should have seen already, and if you haven't, you should watch it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I highly recommend it as well. Um, but that does wrap it up for today. Brian, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we've had some pretty bad monsters on the on
Hmm.
these last couple of weeks. So why don't we talk about something good? Why don't we talk about the Good Witch,
Oh,
which is
finally.
yeah, Who doesn't love a good witch? And
Yeah.
it's streaming for free on YouTube right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. Be sure to email us at drivingdoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com with your favorite Good Witch memory so we can bring that up on the podcast. Go ahead and follow us over on X at the IDF pod. And be sure to check out the Patreon. But until next time.
Until next time.